당도 계부 추진 충숨게 나니 계부 충유게 남지진바 라 로장다 고그신 대된마 고주어라 에디네 쉬시에 안데네야 계부 충유게 남지진바 로장디 갑라 당보 코론다 가르 장고레세네 델리아 네 denjur imli rinpoche tuyen chenpo yinpa dan kiye chenpo sim daya dan ane dele ya ane denjur imli rinpoche deke ane chiki imne ya ane kichi ji zhubo chiwa mi daba re ma don tenpo yo ma re se chiwa mi daba ya mi daba sam dang gong go re se chi kisi nga zo di kor shu ro.
Good evening. Last week we came to the practice of the being of the smallest capacity. And we saw that the very first training for the being of small capacity follows on from having recognized the great value of this life that we've achieved, as well as the rarity of this life and the great hardship with which we would have in the past accumulated the causes that have resulted in this life. So here now, in coming to the trainings that are in accordance with the being of smallest capacity, one looks at this opportunity that we have achieved with this life and recognize that it is impermanent and that death will follow. So this training on death and impermanence is the first of the trainings within the practices that are in accordance with the being of smallest capacity.
기지 지시네 교화로는 교화로 지선 tempo 기지 마조로 지선 미다바시고로 지선 미다바들 삼단다들 아니 미다바 라바삼담 단다지다 미다바 될 참아삼단다 이용고로 지선 미다바곰 세들라 미다바 라바곰 나다 미다바 참아곰 나 이용고래 되네 자다다 안서 기부 충격이 기부 충격의 투모의 남이진 벌로 자유 갑라 The
meaning of impermanence is that a phenomenon that is impermanent changes momentarily. It is not stable because it changes momentarily. And when one reflects on impermanence or phenomena, one reflects at varying, maybe a little louder? Thank you. One reflects at varying degrees of subtlety. So is the volume better now at the back there? Yeah. One starting out at coarser levels and then taking the meditation down to subtler levels. Here, when we're looking at the impermanence of life in the context of a being of smallest capacity, then this is a meditation on the coarser levels of impermanence.
Dini za dang zugi chiwa mi ta wasaya da. Dini zang zu jiwu chungu da tunmiwa lamji rinpa lo changwi nyamlin jitang de zuo ro kare jigo re sine nga zu jiwa chima lada mi gopang toya ki dunye ki lo di samba di ane shuk chenpo chi ki go re. Zang jiwa chima lada mi gopang tobra dubi ki dunye ki dunba shuk chenpo ki ne ane kar jigo re labna Gewa chima nga song la tar che la da mi ko wa to de dunye shu shin bo ge dine ji ya de ane gar nyam ne che go che de kar la na nga song ge gi nga ka so la da mi ko wa to ye gi gyu li ya be chi go re gyu li ba sa ya de le gyu nyam ne che de je za di ge ju ru ya de le ge ju ru ya de le ane gewa chima nga song la ge gi nga zu nyam ma de wa di bo mong bo sa sha ba yu ba na den dibodi 샤돔 쳐야 돼. 님보 덮시고네. 아니 샤돔 쳐야 돼. 그래서 개와치마 남냠는 지에서 조 디레다. 개와치마 하다 미우고 방 톱되기 되냐기 듬바삼보 듬바디 숙처게 하다. 듬보 숙처 못게 하다. 근데 듬바디까지 숙처와 여바이나 된 제사디 개와치마 하다 미우고 방 톱이기 규 개와를 배주시하다. 아니 개와 내는 녀마 사셔비기 나손을 깨야기 규 디바 사셔바이나 딩년보 톱시고네 샥돔 쳐야 돼. 니베즈 쳐야 돼. 당시 냐면 개우 충유갑다. 개우 충유다 투며 남일을 로 장하 시리갑다. 니냐면 쳐야 되다.
The being of initial capacity, they are training their mind so as to give rise to a tremendous strength of mind that is focusing on achieving a good rebirth in their future life. And this comes about through having reflected on the impermanence of life, also reflecting that when this life ends, there are only one of two directions the next rebirth will go, a happy migration or a low migration. And having generated fear for rebirth in the lower migration due to the negative karmic imprints on our continuum, then the practitioner develops a great strength of mind, a strength of mind that turns them away from mere mundane worldly affairs and focused on developing the causes that achieve a good rebirth, as well as purifying previously accumulated negative karma through the application of the four opponent powers. So when you think about it from varying perspectives, we can see that this is the essence of the Buddha Dharma, of the practices of the Buddha Dharma, or rather than the essence, a very general way that we can explain the practices of the Buddha Dharma. And these are done by a being of initial capacity through focusing on the accumulation of virtue and the purification of previously accumulated negativities.
아다 냠린제 조디 기부 중유 갑로 로장고래 세대한 주기 고미야디 제와치마 타다미 원료 고방 톱디 톱마톱데 탑디 톱도 선배 삼로디 숙첨보여야 돼. 되게 숙첨을 돼. 비디 야네 고미야디 디레. 네 고음네다 제와치마 타다미 톱고 되게 야네야도 곰바 잠기다 톱투고 말해. 제산디 톱할 디 톱에게 탑 가르여서는 나주기 교환이 저기 남미셔들의 주름소야다. 아니 진배냠네 쇠배냠네 안전주의냠네 제야다. 근데 지금 몰람 자야다. 어디서 개위 자와 릉아 있으면게 개주주 봐 주야지 탑지래. 아니 지가르여서는 냐만에다 디바 망고 사셔반에 대수파 아니 님보 도시 전에 그런 저기 저기 자동제지 파 장요도 장네 아니 샤화야 돼. 니 장해야 돼. 다 주소대다 기부 중요가 람 아주 다 망고 시에나마 시나를 시에게 당아서 삼로 장도 제일 리미디래다 디숨데.
A being of initial capacity is engaging in training their mind through meditation to develop this strong intention, or this strong aspiration to achieve a good rebirth. And this is done through these meditations on impermanence and reflection on the sufferings that are being experienced by beings in the lower realms. And then through those reflections, through that mental development, they give rise to a powerful and intent mind on achieving the causes that will lead to a good rebirth, as well as eliminating the causes that could propel one to the lower realms. So the causes that this practitioner is focused on cultivating are an ethical outlook, a mind of ethical conduct, a mind of generosity, a mental practice of patience, as well as joyous perseverance. So those four, as well as prayer. So those are the causes that they are focused on accumulating, as well as purifying all previously accumulated negative karma through the application of the four opponent powers. So this, in brief, is the training, the mental training that a practitioner of initial capacity engages in.
류가 있으면 거네 예주 디고 제바이나 나선라 깨주고래 지사다 예주 dom체 수rum 수반나 타다 미고방 토고래 대연상에 개와장 하다 미고방 토야들 수rum 숨기세야다 온도 삼다래 디네 자다 가도 디고미알이야 공고원사 지사 개와 치마 되냐게 하다 미고방 토고도 sembe 되냐 삼로 슉침보도 삼로데 레마도 바딩 하줄래 마게바데 가르치고래라나 아줄래 시에스데 삼로 고고 말 따서 딱바진비 따생이 삼로 따생 증을 주요로 여러 되게 지금 말해서 치기래서 삼로디 먼저 코트 부고 말해 디코마도 바인상 디 시기래서 삼모도 아니 저기 야가카레 제베는 세디기 디기 삼야 아니 저기 세디기 디기 주비야데 세디기 동아세 디 삼로야 한 자와장 지디고래 진짜 되네자 체디기 좀 중요하다. 체디기 동화상 세야 디냐야 내가 제대로 아니가 저기 체디게 소소 변조야 사야래. 아니 소소기 안지게 니엘야 아니 소소가 가고 제 소데 로제다. 될 소소 마가서 될 어딘가를 그 디뉴고레선 될야 아니 강아 제 디메바서야다. 진짜 체디기 아주 체디기 강아 세야야 오산다 가는 뉴그래 가는 균주지 디메바서 고스 될야 녀바기야. 진짜다 나랑 기부 고고스에서 나를 고고스는 소소기 배제 다에 돈달라든 차와기야. 아니 시알이야 소소를 막아서 될 당와기야 콘트기야. 진짜 차다니 니원게 잖냐 내가 제제한 저기 니고 고고레스. 진짜 되네 인자 니 체디기 잖냐 삼 코제 내가 레어도 개와치마 삼 고고 말아. 뭐도 개마치 개와치마 야고 용야가 된다. 수름송야 돼 용고 말 수름송 두고 말 진변냠난 제두고 말. 되네 인자 균디레서 당하줄래.
This practitioner of ethical conduct, the practitioner of initial conduct, initial capacity. So they are, when they are an actual practitioner of initial capacity, they are focused on achieving a good rebirth. So they're a practitioner who is intent on achieving a good rebirth. And they are very clear that all the previously accumulated negativities that are abiding on their continuum, it is those that have the power to send them to the low realms and therefore have to be purified. Likewise, further and more powerful virtue must be accumulated because that and that alone is what propels good rebirths. In particular, the virtue of ethical conduct. Ethical conduct being the mind of restraint, a mind that remains restrained and thereby restrains one's physical and verbal behavior. So therefore, a practitioner of initial capacity, with this attitude that is focused, or this intent way of thinking focused on their next life, they guard their ethics well, accumulate virtue well as purify negativities. But in order to give rise to such an intent and focused mind, they have to undergo training, mental training, train their mind, their way of thinking. Because the reality of all ordinary beings is the mind is dominated by laziness. Here being the laziness of procrastination. Because we don't like to think about our death. We don't talk about death, we don't want to hear about death or even see it. And even if a thought of death comes, we try to distract ourselves from it, turning it away. And the fault that comes from not thinking with sincerity about our impending death, our certainty of death, and its uncertainty as to the time of death, is that we continue under this illusion of having time. And this leads to procrastination. And this then leads to us, our way of thinking, our mental activity, being dominated by two things. The achievement of mere worldly happiness of this one life, as well as overcoming the problems and difficulties of this one life. A very limited, narrow way of thinking. There's nothing expansive or vast about such a way of thinking. This way of thinking we see enacted by ourselves and others, where we help those that we care for, we rejoice in the harm that comes to those that we don't care for. Our mind is obsessed by achieving what we want, repelling what we don't want. Obsessed in the sense that that is what dominates us. All this desire for worldly happiness and repelling of worldly unhappiness. Worldly in the sense of being about this one mere life. So to change this strong habituation of thinking requires some effort, some training. Because that way of thinking shows that one has not thought effectively about our death, our impending death. Because that way of thinking is unethical in that one's mind is dominated by attachment to the things we want, to getting our way, having things go how we want them, and so forth. As well as anger and aversion and frustration and annoyance which comes in regard to all these things that we don't want and we try and propel. This way of thinking is unethical. This way of thinking is not creating the virtuous causes for good rebirth. So these are the faults that come about through not reflecting effectively upon our death.
Denigi chiwa samno matna che samno makho che samno ta matu che den city ke kan city kyang ki digi tuya dunga se ke samno ta han dene ta du an dele ya an chi da chiwa mi ta ware da chiwa mi ta ko ko res chesa tembu yo mar ni mi chi hi ru ri se ji ko chiwa mi ta ko ko res dene hi ko se ko gimjeng dire chiwa mi ta ko ko res ya na chiwa mi ta ko chiwa mita pareta kyo shiru gres nimichi shiru ma ma shi like ma de shiru gre chere da shiru gre shiru ba da shina an me ba cha gro besen zao ne me ba cha yo ma de chida shina ga du ro sne dosa de la ya na ngan ro le ki du re ya na la da mi dian zhou se de ki re dian zhou se ke na la da mi ko ma tu ko re ngan ro le ke na nya wa yi da du zhou ma ki du ko chida dosa de la ni ma du yo ma de chida da dosa de ni ma do me wan zang ane ngandole joya yi ma joya joba ina kare yoresena telyaji dunga dene yor kanga dene yor kanga ki shigoro wa tel jone kibu yo mares telya ne kanga janya res an dele yaga de dendrol hada mi ko fa thoba ina kewa na dela ngandole kewa chene shara kiwa yores so rangwa da so ki kanga se thuya da ni yores dene za ngandro dan dendro yi josa tela dendro dele yaga yores 지산데 덴트를 줘야 다 간트를 맞아야지 가리진 간트를 가리진 두고래 람나 아니를 디셔션 두간 신의 매 자기 말 치와미다 봐 치루를 다 하세 직시 아니 신의 가와 두고를 람나 줘서들라 간트를 덴트 이마도 요마 덴트를 간트를 깨나 강아 덴데 요래 해야지 안 덴트를 야기나 사다 미고 방세를 되자 마솔을 타지 덴트 깨나 델라 장와다 디기 아니 간트 전에 디기 싫어 숙체 요래서 콜이야 The
first point I want to make at the start of this talk is to make it very clear again for everyone why we need to think about death. And then again in brief why this is so important is it's through not being aware of our impending death that we continue to chase the mere happiness of this life and continue to have our minds dominated by the problems and difficulties of this life. And if we look at ourselves, look at our way of thinking, and we see that this is the case, this is how we are thinking, then there you have it vividly for you, the need to reflect further on the impermanence of life. And then to expand on this further, is in the meditation on reflecting on the impermanence of this life, one comes to the point where there's a very clear acceptance that death will come. And then after death, what happens? Do we just cease to become nothing? Well, not at all. Our life, we continue. There's progression to the next rebirth. And where that next rebirth goes depends on the dominant causes, karmic imprints on our continuum. And these can ripen only in one of two general directions. With a virtuous imprint ripening, we achieve rebirth in a pleasant migration. And that's a rebirth like we have now as a human or as a god. Or if it's a negative imprint that ripens at the time of death, our rebirth is in one of the suffering migrations. Other than those two directions, there's nowhere else that we can go. Those are the only two directions, a pleasant or a suffering migration. Having then reflected also on the next topic, which is the sufferings of the lower realms, it becomes manifestly clear, evidently clear, that a happy migration, a pleasant migration is so much more desirable than the intense suffering that beings experience in the lower realms. So this is the sequence of the meditation, reflecting on impermanence of this life, leading then to reflection on the lower realms, the sufferings of the lower realms. And the reason we're doing this is to give us a greater understanding of the precarious nature of this life, and thereby thereby have the strength of mind to develop our outlook so it becomes much more expansive as well as far-sighted, and not be overwhelmed anymore by the happiness of this one life and the overcoming of the problems of this one life.
That was a dinima to Mevanza, Dinil to Wores. That way, Nanda, Mason Dredi, Ganichin to Gore, and the Mason of Madoche, Tada Migo to go in, and the Karchekore, Lavin. Tis a Mason Dredi, Manzo Cedile, Diquanya, and the Divo Chivana, Mason Kigores, Dibile Sachi, the Mason Kitu, Dibu and Mason Kigore. Tis a Gawadwaina. Lada Migo and Danger to Gores, to Gore. The Dinians are on the Lada Migo Wang, the Tobiagi, Dondala, and Sedelia, Geshe to Gores, or that is the Geshe to Gores. Then the Geshe Thubten Labna, and the Conjosum Jamdrochia, Jabdrochia, and Lake Unjaki sometimes, and Lake Unjaki, Diquacheva, and the table didn't in the Yunguri, that Dinesa, Dibi table de la Diquachena, the Gawacheva, and the table de Yungore. Dinesa, Lake Unjaki, Yoris, Gudi Yoba, Trupsona, the table de Tender Yoba, it's called Lake Unjaki Milores, and Lake Unjaki Ishichada, and Conjosum Jamdrochia. Lake Unjaki Ishichene, the Nangalunga use me nature don't be Surum Soya. Jason Surum Soin, the table had a Migo, top 2 years a Yichia. The ne Ganzogi and the Jimbaniam Legia, Jimbaniam Lejavan, Yawa Chimal had a Migo, top the Tentelia, and then Diki, Socio Longi to be a Cusagri said, and the Subianiam Lejavan, Yamlejavana, or Botswana, so by the Yunguria, and the Junjaniam Legia, the name Molamja, or Dusini. Gewa disa, Chesan Gewa Chimala, Migo Batogi, na Gudi disa, Dinizada, Gudisa or Ege, Gewa Dupure said, Disunyam Jewla or Gewa Jewla, Gewa Chimalhada Migo Batoyala, Gewa Chinamado Shan to Mares, the Gewa Chiradi that did it. Chizada, Gewa Chimala, Nason Kiala, Dibo Pongure City. Lunga use Nietzsche domio di Bopon, but the Lunga is Jella, Tisuptan, Aja, the Lu Condition, Socho, Bada, Kuma, Koala, so in Jenna, never check what is that. Sushim Suno, Nietzsche domio, called Gudi Ranshin, also get Gudi Ranshin, you go shoot your Gadu Kore. And then Yama Shuki. Nietzsche to be Sushim Suno, and the Lunga use Nietzsche, Jimmy, Sushim Suno, Lunga use nobody taking Barwada, just Ranshin for Gadu. Domio, Jezan Sonki, Gudi Margare, Dendriki, Gudi Jungore. The Yama do other Sonki, Gudi Sasha, and a Carchecore, or Dini Botofukone, Shatom Chore, Dini Shatom Chenaco, Nuba Meva Suture, Denja, Mandriki Mares, says that Dini and Zada, Mandriki, Gudi, Sedelia, Anzuki, Nietzsche, Surum Suma, Soba Chedu, Mandrin, also Sedelia, Mandriki, Gudi, Sagu Mare, Jezan Dendriki, Gusato. Yamadiwa Sasha Vaina, Nimba Toshukune Shadu, Comeva Tarugore. Chesa, Dini Zakiwashman Soki Mares, Chesa Tap, Yamlen Tiche Hores, or that did Yamlen Chetan, Takiwachima, Lada Muko, Twegi, Yamlen Cheto, the Tires order.
At the time of death, there are only two directions that all beings take rebirth, either in a happy migration or in a suffering migration. This is where all ordinary beings have to take rebirth. And what propels them in one or two directions is their previous actions they engage in, physical, verbal, or mental actions. In other words, the karma that's on their own continuum. If a negative imprint ripens at the time of death, rebirth in a suffering migration follows. If a virtuous karmic imprint ripens at the time of death, then rebirth in a pleasant migration follows. When gaining certainty of this leads to great clarity of mind, strength of mind, to apply oneself to virtue, the accumulation of virtue, as well as engaging in purification. So the practitioner then, knowing the need to apply themselves to virtue, will study and reflect well on refuge as well as karma, gaining great certainty in the law of cause and effect. And with this with this understanding that cause and effect is definite, that from non-virtuous seeds, suffering follows, from virtuous seeds, happiness follows, then the practitioner becomes committed to, on one hand, engaging in virtuous practices, and secondly, purifying previously accumulated negativities. So here the practitioner then commits themselves to at all times having an ethical outlook, developing this mind of restraint in meditation and keeping it engaged and present throughout the day. And the practice of ethical conduct, this mind of restraint, this is the primary cause that leads to a good rebirth in a happy migration. Then to ensure that one has sufficient material conditions, the favorable circumstances that one requires in a good rebirth, the practitioner also engages in the practice of generosity, developing the mind that wants to give, the mind that wants to help. And then furthermore, they engage in the cultivation of the practice of patience. Patience being the mind of restraint, the mind the mind that stays undisturbed in the face of adversity. And this is the practice they engage in so as to ensure they accumulate the causes that ripen in their future lives, in that they will have harmonious relationships with others, they'll get on well with others, they will easily make friendships and be able to have a positive influence on the lives of others. And the fourth training that the practitioner will engage in is that of joyous perseverance, developing a mind that delights in virtue, that takes great joy in accumulating virtue and wants to make ever greater endeavor. In doing so, they create the causes that in future lives they will have a personality that is naturally inclined to virtue, naturally disinclined to non-virtue, as well as then seeking out spiritual training and teaching and applying it to themselves. And then lastly, these four practices of ethics, generosity, patience, and joyous perseverance are rounded off with heartfelt prayer for good rebirths. So these are the mental trainings, or the trainings of one's mind that this practitioner will engage in. And through engaging in the most important of them all, that of ethical conduct, which is creating the primary cause for good rebirth, not only are they developing the causes for good rebirth, but they are also stopping the accumulation of the causes that would lead to rebirth in the lower realms, in the suffering migration, because through an ethical outlook, one will not have an unethical way of thinking, and thereby not engage in an unethical physical behavior or way of speaking either. So therefore, through an ethical outlook, not only is one creating the causes for good rebirths, but one is also preventing the further accumulation of causes that would lead to rebirth in the suffering realms. So this is all about the accumulation, but this practitioner too, with a strong conviction to turn away from mundane affairs and focus with a more expansive mind on attaining a good rebirth, will also engage in the accumulation of their previously accumulated negative karma, so as to ensure that at the time of death, their store of virtue is not only vast, but their unpurified negative karma is greatly reduced. And thereby they will also engage in the purification through the application of the four opponent powers. So these are the two trainings that one needs to engage in: the accumulation of virtue as well as engaging in purification practice. And through having cultivated this training well, first on death and impermanence and these other topics, one will be committed to do so. One will find it easy to do so, easy to have the commitment to do so. So this is the method of mental training and practices that a being of initial capacity engages in.
chiwa mitawa reda sa chiwa mitawa sam tangu re sa chikma gonggu re si go da chiwa samlo ma ho gan di le chiwa samlo ko gan nei she ga se ma da je da chiwa gi ne samlo ma ga che di ge jang ge jawal che tin de le chiwa mitawa re sa da ne chiwa mitawa sam ta na de le ka tang gan sa tangu re le ne de rimba de le ma so ne ane ji mi ba de chi gi re sa de den chi ru re sa ji kyo den shi gi re sa da den shi gi re sa shi de 난 근데 시리에서 시에서와 다 되는 시나고 안녕 지 가셔나 섬 어다가 로자스 되지 시빈데 다지 다 롱업주스 바도가 안에 제 소속에 파 참자제 소소 제 기후시야 나를 해야 돼야지 땅업주 루주스레선 되는이 지게 최지 지긴 삼다와이나 되는 게 삼고는 되는 지기 말해서 남친 해매요 말해서 그디시야 해봐요 말다 그 롱업주 되어진 롱업주기 제일 안에 지 최념는 지기 시대 경업주 만년일 시로는 가르치게 됐어 경험하기도 와서 세상 남친 해매래 그디시 해요 말해 로제마시 로가제도 로니 되게 로주디 그래 마 되게 아주 시토야요 말해서 세상 남친 해매래 했은 되네기 당보 치워래 치워미다 와삼다나시 니제리아 남친 해매래다 시하게 삼다나시 난 남친 해매지는 나는 아니 신의 가를 핑그리에 가를 판도 말에는 신나 아니 다들 결혼을 유변주와 가지 사업이나다 가지 여비나다 결혼 완치 신부 가지 여비나다 결혼을 분자다 아니 결혼을 yapgör지기 미가지 여비나다 대수의 결혼 시대 대수의 팽이 말했어 팽 가를 판기래라나 대수 가지 예나 혼수기 결혼 안선을 마줘야 돼 까야 까투고 말 유변주를 줘서 나지 안선을 마줘야 까투고 말했어 아니 지금 소수기 나 왕치 누베 친구 예스는 왕치 베지 단에 안선을 맞이야 까투고 말했어 아니 내가 나로 로봇이간 아니 잡교 먹고 예선 잡교들이 티전에 아니 나선 마저야 까투고 말했어 결혼 시워디에 까투고 말했어 대수기 시와 마시에 수토야 말했어 지난 되는 인자 한다 나선 줘야 까투야 다야 된저 줘야디 수지기래는 최제나 니기 핑기래서 지난 시위 값소 결혼 시위 값도 시야디 까투야스가요 말해 시주 그래서 지도 시는 나선 마저야 당야 된저 줘야디 가리 핑기래라는 세딜에 최념내 제 니기마도 판두고 말했어 그래서 집에서 최마도 관계자 핑기 말했어야지 어디시 오르다 당보에 치워 공부를 했습니다 보고 디젤야 녜매치 치워 녜바메바데 기디치 남친 녜매 공부를 했어 디곰나시 니고묘도 안 디젤야 안에 지 치위에서나 가리 핑기래라는 최념내 제디 핑기래 디마도 제 핑기 말했어 제디 어디 숨쉬고 다 냠내 제다 곰나 rimba samata di sumshiwa di sumshiye di gyumzen di garelana di sumshiye ba ta goya ba tene kewa chima dunya ki nipo lo di nipo cha ke donda shiwa da ngazo kewa chima dunya ki samlo di ki matu ba insan di ke ki donda la di sumshiwa di sum samta ne kewa chima dunya ki nipo lo di nipo shukcha da ya ki donda la shiwa da
For all those who aspire to develop spiritual paths in their continuum, for all those who desire to turn their lives around and live a life of great meaning, it's imperative to cultivate this realization of death and impermanence. Because it's through the meditation on death and impermanence that leads us to reevaluate our priorities and develop an outlook that is no longer dominated by desire for achieving mere worldly happiness, as well as to no longer have an outlook that is where we are overcome by mundane strife and difficulties. Rather, it's through this meditation on death and impermanence that we develop far-sighted and expansive outlook. And this is imperative because it gives us the strength of mind required to completely turn our way of thinking around, to turn around these deeply embedded mental habits that we have and develop a transformed mind. So then let's briefly look at how one engages, or what are the steps of the meditation on death and impermanence, or the impermanence of our life. So the first of the three steps is to gain certainty that death will come. And this is something that we all accept. It's not at all controversial to say, yes, I know I will die. But we need to give rise to this certainty to the degree that it has a transformative impact on us. That is no longer something that we can accept, but merely theoretically. That we know with certainty will come. When we have in meditation given rise to the certainty that death awaits us, we then it's imperative we move to the second step of the meditation, because it's fairly easy to gain certainty that death will come. But if we leave the meditation there, we will continue to remain under this illusion that we have time. And we all think about this expanse of time that lies before us. And due to having this expanse of time, we think we have the opportunity to do many good things, many virtuous things in the future, and we delay this. This is a grave error. So here we go on to the second step of the meditation, which is, having reflected on the certainty of death, we now reflect on the uncertainty of the time of death. And this is of particular importance, the second step. We've accepted that death will come, and now we need to overcome this illusion of time through recognizing what we have observed, what we intellectually know. That age, for example, one's current age is does not determine whether we will die before or after someone else. The young often die before those that are older than them. Our current state of health is also not a clear indicator of our time of death. Those who appear healthy, their death may come unexpectedly soon. They may be quickly stricken by an incurable illness. Any of us sitting here may be suffering from an undiagnosed illness. And moreover, this reflection, we come to see that there are so many causes that can lead to the end of this life, and so few that sustain it. And in this way, we come to see with great clarity that we have no certainty as to when our death will come. It could come tonight, it could come tomorrow, it could come next year. We have no way of being definite. Then engaging in these first two steps, this will lead to us reevaluating our life, reevaluating the purpose of our life. And this then turns us to, so what will benefit me at the time of death? Will the wealth that I have accumulated, will that help me at the time of death? Will those that I care for, my loved ones, will they be able to help me? Is my power and influence that I hold within my family, my place of work, or within society, will that be able to help me? And of course we know that none of these things can. Those with power and influence in this world, they've died. No matter how much one's partner and children love one, death comes. No matter how wealthy a person is, death comes. None of these things can avert death or buy us a favorable rebirth, a good rebirth. So here in the third step, we see that none of these things can help us, but what can is our training in the Buddha Dharma, our own mental development, the positive imprints, the virtuous imprints that we have accumulated on our mind. This is the only thing that can help us, because it's these imprints that determine our future rebirth, and these imprints we carry with us, all our karmic imprints we carry with us to our future lives. So that then is the conclusion, the third step of the meditation. And at this point then, we have a powerful mind, a determined mind, a mind that is determined to transform our way of thinking from mere worldly, mundane happiness and overcoming problems that have no real lasting significance, but focusing on a far greater goal. And this is how one concludes this meditation, with a more expansive mind and a more far-sighted outlook.
ane chiwe ze chue ma do xian gang ge peng ma re se de on di sam da sa de xie se sa da nge ba chiwa la ye de da nge ba chiwa sam da de da yin ji min ji xi ge da ko ma xi wa ta ge ne ma ko we ne la le da nyu mo be wong gi ane ko ge wa lin chi je la ane xi ya ma da ta ge ne ma se be ne nie ma ne ya ji mi Gyatso chimboye chungyore, ane chinyamani mi gyowo yore, mi dingriye yore, mi da semchen chasan, di dadi baru nyamani dine yore, lo gyatso nyele yue dingen chasan, dadi baru jiye layo ma res. Chasan dine chasan shi ca res. Di nyamani ko di yore, chasan Kodadbadu Mashiba Hayores, Chian Maras. Tisna, Konyama and Anzugan, Nema Kodinity Jumar, Nema Dinity Jumar said, Yeme Jumar Shema the Toya Maras. Dadananzo, Yum do you take Miso Shimpokaze, you have the Simjan, Dundore, Misore, that Chictinit was some torch of Yobati, and Disuina, Gilly, Dada you taking in Digi, Lord Jaggy Chela, sometimes, Gmeva Agmar, Gmeva Article. Never charge, just as I should do, she rules, she's not children ever, says some Dana dinner. She's not children ever, that Namchi, never your mother, Kitty, ever your mother, left you some Dana Delaya, take it there, now look at the degree, Diniel, she mother, left to your mother, Carson, now to hear Gigan Delia, Mango Shures, Chilugi, Benedigo to ya down. Benes and Sawa Chetta me GP Manzole Shia Yangayore, Chu GP Shia Yangayore, Sada Lunda, Denigi GP Shia Yangayore, and Dimase, and Mazuki Machu down, Denigi, and Kumada, Denigi Tone, Shia Yangayore. And the name Mavina, Sosora, Chikalasa, Maribe, Trading Jeta, Maribe Tone, and Denicine, and then as it is she doing Yangayores. She's not the names are to do it how Maria, Maria, the dinner channel. She's not to she gentle bear, Mass Mambo, Nasolanium do you again. Gitina, the name do you about it. She says she gentle, new mango shooters. Naso near gentle bear, new chunjures. She's not she again the bear massy Mambo. She's not the names are Gidishing about your mother. Or do some Gidichime, Chiwa, Name sometime, the lap. Dinigi Chi, Gin Mambo, Dinny Yungdua, and Bay some Tana dinner, Namching made some Tana, or Dustin some Tana Shigoro.
So just to look at these first two points of the meditation again. So the first of the two was to generate a clear certainty that death will come. So we took rebirth in this life, having died in our previous life. And our condition from our previous life and this life hasn't changed in that, as ordinary beings, we will continue to take uncontrolled rebirth after uncontrolled rebirth due to the power of our contaminated karma that we accumulated through our afflicted minds. We have done we've gone through this process in lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. We have gone through this process, continuing to go through this process, as are all other ordinary beings. If we think of all the famous people that we studied in history, all the great powerful people in the world of the past, and those all the powerful people in the past, those who with great intelligence invented many wonderful things, all of them have died. We only know them through history books. Or we know people of the past through our family trees. They are all died, as too will we. And then the second point that follows from this is the uncertainty of the time of death. And here we reflect on the many causes that lead to one's death, whether coming from natural disasters, whether coming from harmful behavior from other people, whether coming from illness, whether coming from an accidental cause, whether coming from things we do for fun and for entertainment, but we end up dying, or even those things which are meant to support our life, such as exercise, such as food. All of these can lead to death. And then on the other hand, we think of the causes to maintain our life, to keep us alive. And we see how very few there are, and in comparison they're not very strong. And it's through clear reflection on this, the many causes for death and the so few to sustain life, that we come to understand with great certainty that our time of death is completely unknown.
On do some daje, that 6 hours in my league. Dinner some daje, do some daje, Delia, Danga man, Danga pen, my shiwa de, 대양 카르 제시 냠 닝 안에 차동동 바 제고레세지 안에 차동동 바 안에 사자 지도 되미수바 잠기 로시 깨라스
Now we turn back to the text. So we're on the 19th page in the first actual paragraph. How fortunate that he has let you live this long, generate a mind so filled with an awareness of death that you sit like a man hunted by an intent assassin. So just to say again, as mentioned last week, this paragraph in the Tibetan is, let's say, quite ambiguous. So the way it's been translated and the way it was taught last week, there are different ways to read it, and perhaps again tonight.
And another color was in chiwa samda, never chiwa samda, namching eme samda, do samda, do dine commodo, and samda, and so surrounding. Oh, that didn't namching eme, that the Mishiwa, Mashiwa to do, but the Sonam Chimbore, some go resident, Danga Pan Mashiwa, Madada Badu Mashiwa, Howard, Mazinga, Sonam Chimboresha, and that in Geshe Thubten Rabten, but then she's one of the best out, some big denege, and I did Danga Mashiwa, Kara Geshe, Sidu, Jere Che, Sonam Cheware, Sonam Chimboreshas, Sonam Chimbor best. Sonam Chimboresha, that about Mashiwa, Howard, Masa Yahuresha, Sonam Chimboresha, and Nilia, Bear Tasha, Dinigi, some Jan, Chick Sazilia, Duma Subaroja, Tsaki Rouge, Dinigi, some logic, get who is George, Dinigi to a George, Chiwa sometime, Chiwang eme some do, sometimes disobey Chiwang and Namching eme something you should chip or leo. Also, somebody rushing leaves already. Otanga, that is chewing game again. The next, not that much of the bear, Auresha, Sonam Chimboresha, and the Nilia Sasana said, Tata need Geshe more the best as and begin Duma to Varu Chayaro, the Nigo Rashingi, Ligorwa.
What is shown in this first line that was read, how fortunate that he has let you live this long. What is shown with the use of the exclamation mark here is that when one has meditated effectively on the certainty of death and the uncertainty of the time of death, actually this will lead to a feeling of great gratitude and great joy, recognizing how incredibly fortunate to be alive, how fortunate we are not to have died yet. And this leads to a sense of great joy. This combined with the strength of mind that comes from this meditation leads to a determination to use this life well, to use whatever remains of this life well. And this time that remains, we've already come to see, it's completely unknown how much time we have. But now, from this moment forth, I will ensure my life is meaningful.
시에게 냥아 치보시오 지리아 소소 타와인다 지기 미망고라시 소소 지부 소소 타성은 디링하드 베당하드 데네기 냥아 치부되지 샤나 치부 슈조와 델라 타와드 베 마생아 수남 치보레 디린 람로 규송 아사베 데네기 삼나다데 베 지기 삼농 암자 치부 지라야 아니 직 미슈다 당 증무야라 서바다 직 께칸 바 께셔로 용으로 하디는 베 디아고 중서 디는 타성선 베게 되는 용으로 봐 그래서 내내자 고 데니기 시아나딜레 타용도 비치 가사 제가 제모로 신나도 제모 톱니 지 텐도에 토도 베 가는 문이 직직이도 아주 곧베 가자 지 딜레 타성선 가자 지 그런 게샘춤 되모수바 안에 지게 자그스그로 리그로 되는 무시와 리그로 디나시 시나딜레 타나디 마시 베사샤 딘베하고 중샤선비 시나딜레 타성선비 타도선비게 섬기어도 데레야 안지 셈 베마시기 네 소남 쳔보레샤선비 소소 자가스자 디니기 삼나레야 닝차샤샤 제리 디 라신기고 지원미다바 삼다다 남친에메스 또 지는 삼다까지 삼다 숙체 삼다요도 아니 디게 라신기 되네 삼나지 코 레투고 봐. 진짜 데네기 말레 봐도 치워미다 봐다 남식 예매 삼나 땅고 해서 그러다.
What is being described here is a sign that the meditator will look for. When naturally, spontaneously, this feeling of you could say, of great joy arises. There's great joy that they are still alive. The great joy that despite all the causes for their death, I'm still alive. That when their mind is almost crying out with joy that death hasn't come, that is a sign the meditation has been effective. Until that sign comes, one needs to keep meditating on the impermanence of this life. And the sign then can be likened perhaps when someone who has endured an exceptionally dangerous situation, a situation where where they have had to face death, and they've come out the other side. They will look back on their experience with a sense of joy and wonder that I achieved that. I actually managed to persevere and work through that difficult situation. And there'll be a great sense of relief and an expanse of their mind. So this is similar then to a practitioner, to a meditator who's trained their mind well on death and impermanence. Spontaneously, it will arise within them a joy and a strength of mind that despite all the causes that should have ended their life, that hasn't come about. There still is time.
Dene ondu sene samta dene samta du dilo dene skit urese da dene jelia nor longje ni nyawa su gana ya su gana yang zhuang me bar denem ji chido sabi digba de kene drogo ba dirane yacha nyamba jes ondu sene samtam urese.
Look at the next paragraph. At the time of death, money, possessions, friends and servants will not be able to follow you. However, the traces of negative karma created for their sake will pursue you. Think it over.
Da dini garasa mongosne nor longju se tsedelia sosogi da jiki chiwa mitaba samada che tsedelia be jik sosogi nyu benjor mangol jik lone lo mangol di dondale samdaje cheshi tin gyujebu sa gyushikaje sa wine dine hidu gyukaje ne dikero ya minu sorda nor da longju se de gunor longju se da soso saya no ya dan nor se di sosugi bene jalala sobada dineki rinna chimbola sokaje sa wine je da longju se soso peje taya da jik dulo roje sawa da ningje wo jibu gong chimbo jiyo ka jiyo bainada ne kala saya to ya ge pe masigi phonchembu shimbo saya ge ka jiyo bainada dine disu chasa gaje sedelia gaje kalege sabene shidu disogi ane kedo ya minus disogi phaya ga minus dine ni nyawa sede ta soso ga pe jik bunjare sa dang ni ko re sa dang ni zhuo re sa dang ni ngale gyapgyo jegen ji re sa de ni nyawa ka je ru de sonim de ka je ji zhuo da de ne ka je be ne xiwi ga la de cha sa ke de ro je tu ya mi de wa che gi ne mi de cha de su gi ane ro che ne ma xi ya ga ya ge de ne ga tu ya ka mi de cha wa rang wa me ba che rang wa mi de me ba za da ne denamgi chedo da denigi chedelya digi rangi digi juya dunga seya dang shen rangi ane shanchola dangwa dang rangchola gawa cheche ane chakwa cheche denigi sashibi gyuchela kasi sashibi digwa manguyarwa da sosuge digi juya ge dondalaya misala kumaja mila wangyo shaya mi kukhora tangya ge ane kanga tsiksub shaya dang ane chige mila nyewe samba jewa de deni digwa mangu sashabay na 소수기 된다 사바 안디양 디야지 현다게 된다라 네 조고를 캐디 진뇌비도 세다 네 조고를 거기 네비도 네 조고를 동아 세고세 네 조고 강아 세고스네 디 된다야 야샹리야 ane chigi nyoba kiya da dikpa sashiga mangbo yungurwa ane nge nye di donda sashiga dine dikpa sashiga ina dine dikpa di kene dhoya re shas jeza dikpa di kene dhoya mato shen kaya midu jeza samne du dine ki du jeba chi du jeba chi samda di dine pe chiga chiya liya pene shenaru ki saso denigi nge de diva cheje shiwan de sasare samjig shena ge ore chere.
Here in this paragraph, then, returning to the third step of the meditation, where we look at this time of death. So we've gained certainty in the time of death, but we've also recognized the uncertainty of the time of death. So here, we think about at the time of death, what will help us? So at the time of death, in our meditation, we reflect on the life that we've lived thus far, imagining that if this was our time of death, all the things that have preoccupied my mind in this life, all the food and drink that I've delighted in so, all the possessions that I strove so hard to accomplish and was so joyful when I did, as well as all my loved ones, no matter how many are in my circle of those that I'm close to, or who these people are, if my time of death is now, could any of that help me? Any of these past possessions which delighted me so, any of my loved ones, could they help me at all at the time of death? Could I take them with me to my next rebirth? And we know that that's not the case. There's nothing, none of these can help us at the time of death. In fact, all our loved ones can do for us is stand and watch helplessly. Here then, through this reflection, we come to gain a truer perspective of the things that have dominated our mind, that have preoccupied our mind throughout our life thus far. And we see that they really are only about this one mere life. We can't take them to our next life. They can't help us in our next life. And then when you think at a slightly deeper level, we think about the minds that we had, that the minds under which we engage in the varying activities relating to all that we desired. So for example, for our loved ones, we often engage in non-virtuous acts for our loved ones. To help our loved ones in difficult circumstances, we may well engage in non-virtuous acts, for example, speaking harshly to others, or deceiving others and so forth, or to accumulate wealth too. Through this attachment, we will accumulate negativities, deceiving others, lying others. So not only has our time been lost through this preoccupation for mere worldly happiness and overcoming very temporary problems and difficulties, but we've done so under the influence of afflicted minds, such as attachment, such as anger, pride and jealousy, and thereby accumulated a vast store of negativity. And this negativity, unlike our possessions which lie scattered about us or forgotten, or our loved ones around us, these imprints from the afflicted minds and our actions under their influence, these reside on our continuum. And these will accompany us to our next life. At this point in the meditation, some fear should arise within us.
That is, chiwa mitabase, chiegi, dangeba chiwa resen, chiwa mitabare samtang, diningeba shiruku resen, dangeba shibi gumsendi gemangura samtang, then namching gidishi eba yomarese, dining samtang. Dene samta de chisa dene samabu na du ane garing gore sene ngazu chiwalya jigwa chiwore chiwala shiyale shena chiwore jere shina ne shiwalya shena chiwore jere 진짜다 안다고 두스치네 야네 양도 samta de chiwale shena 기고로 와다 shena chiwore 다 지나 chiwale shena 기세디 안 chiwala shena 기네 ane 지게 기나 판도스카요 말했어 그래서네 chiwa sedi kog shia de mado shena ki na pas kayo marwas chesa chiwa le shena ki sedi ki was kay mi dikase shena ki na shiru shena ma ki na shiru res se shena ki ne chiwa le shena ki ba na ma shia le pingi yonde shena ki na digir wa ko chesa dine inza ma shia le pingi mi du dine chiwa le shena ki na pandas kay mi do asan be ki dine ungruwa.
The meditation starts with gaining great clarity and certainty that death will come. And secondly, that due to the multitude of causes that lead to the ending of a lifespan, the time of death can be at any moment. The time of our death is completely uncertain. So this should lead to a fear of death. But leaving the meditation at this point would be a mistake, because just merely fearing death is of no benefit. If one fears death or doesn't fear death, one's still going to die. And in fact, fearing death is a little silly in the sense that it is inevitable. One's fearing the inevitable. And moreover, if one thinks about death or doesn't, it has no impact on the outcome. One still dies.
And in the end, dine sambanda de shiwa zamla jidang shiwa zamla de shena kiwa skaya ma pando skaya ma de shiwa zamla ane da nga shi du gure sebe shena kina pando skaya ma de shena kiwa so ma res na da anzu da de ya chiwa le jipo ki gore se di shena kya de kanes le shena kiwa lamna ni ngandu ke gi gyudi ke ma ho ba che kaspen ke wa chi ma hada mi ko ba ngondo thubi gi gyuma sa ba che gyudi ma du ba dine ngandu ke gi gyudi nyama sa shi ge di ke pa nimbo tu shi ko ne ma sha ba che dine shi so ban da nga pe sa sa re san bi ge di chi wa le she ho le che she de kasna karasa da nga ju pene hada ngondo ko ba to ye gi gyu ma sa ba ane ngandu ke gyudi ma ho ba che ngadi dine ki shi so ban da pesasare se shinaji ore digasen di gare shinaji ore sen di ngondo ke gyumasa baje ngondo ke gyudi mago baina nje wa chimale shine gawa ki se ngason ki duguro jesa di shine de pesasare se shinaji di re chere jesa ngondo ke gyusa nyama sa sha ge di pa ane jige nyembo topshu ko ne sha ya da cedele ya so sugi ane nga so ikasa dendri toyagi lu toyagi den churimda geje yabu jugdeben데 소소 야부 주요선 베게 소소 량케 바시는데 시나 고 샘제 가요 막아서 개와시마 다리 미다 미 루텐데 답변은 가서 로닝 바로 ken고를 된다 되네 시선을 충충을 지야가로 샤리그로 와든지 야가시리그로 와서 되네자 디 가요 말에 당한 저기 시나게 지당 치워 점러데 셰고야스 가요 말에 그 시나면 시나고 시루그레스 되네 다등아도 치워래 집에 끼고래 시나 끼고래 해야지 내가 안송기 계기 규마고 봐지 ondo ko ba to ye yu ma sa ba je ni cedele ko ga yedi ka blia ko ga yo ba de ni ma sa ba je shi son be sa ke se be di je na ke ko reste ji ba ke chi wa le ji ba ke ko reste de di re se ko.
So merely having fear about one's inevitable death is really of little benefit. And if that was the only outcome of the meditation, it would really be a pointless meditation to engage in. Rather, one needs to come to this third point of the meditation. And this, what is included in the third point of the meditation is this understanding that at the time of death, we migrate to a new rebirth. That will either be in a pleasant migration, such as we've achieved in this life, or a suffering migration. And whether it's a pleasant or suffering migration depends on the strength of the virtuous or non-virtuous karma on our continuum. And it's that understanding that leads to the strength of mind, to apply what remains of this life to the accumulation of virtue, as well as the purification of non-virtue. And if one trains well in this meditation, developing this great strength of mind, this broad and expansive mind with a far-sighted outlook, then one will be committed to accumulating and purifying, which means every activity we engage in, our mind will be virtuous. And when we notice non-virtuous minds arising, we will quickly apply the antidotes and turn away from that, thereby always accumulating more virtue, ceasing the accumulation of non-virtue. And if we are able to train with great energy and skill, then when the time of death comes, we will die with confidence. In fact, we will welcome death. We will see death as a mere transition, leaving behind this possibly old and decrepit body, and now we are about to embark on the continuation of this journey, but within a young, strong, flexible body. So to die in this way, though, it only comes about if we've been able to, with great energy, create the causes so that we can be certain of a good rebirth.
야사냐바자 셴나게 오래세 지나 데니기 디바체 디바 몽보사셰 시손데 베사사레 선비기 셴나게 오래세 지나 니 덴조토야 유마사바 게와마사바 지 디바자야산 제네 시손데 베사사레 선비기 디 아니까 소레 두셴나게 오래세 오래 지나 가다 라마주 송고르바데 시와레 셴나게요 시화요 마스 게와렘발레 셴나게 오래세 오래 게와렘발라 지나 시에 들에 제나 판다스가 시시에 그 시마시 제나 시 마시나 시를 지상 개월렘바 시네 매와 두고 매와서 지 개월인 거 지상 야 누가 지디 계속은 배사그래 선배 시나게다 야와들 개월에 디니 야고래 선배 삼로 고구래 디여바는 체들이야 아니 야가데 개 규사야다 누가데 마케기 아니 규디 고구래서 디네 잠 안솔이야 데니기 디버제제 아니 개화마주바제 아니 시선데 베사그리 선배 시나다 된가서 치월의 지버기 오래서 지버기 로세야디 람림 나라셰기다 치월의 지버기 치왕에 남치 치와 미다와콤 니 치와 녜바콤 남치 녜메콤 데니 치월의 지버기 오래서와 데니 지버기 엘로디 가르람나 하다미 나송 베니와 탈바다 탐지kimbe 토비규 니 지게 개와치마 하다 미고바도 유 마사와체 아니 디바견야 사시 시선은 베사사레스 디산 디니신데 베사그레스 미셰나디 개오레지 니셰나 개와이나 아니 소수 가르리그레스네 개와사야기 dum바디 돈예도 슉체로 그레스 아니 디바사야기 아니 야 도미야기 슉체로 그레스 그래 디니인자 지바게 디니케디 게주두야리아 아니 dum바 슉체로야다 베즈시 체로야다 아니 난주게 디바사야야 domsim shukcherkiade domsim shukcherkiade nyama divasachagoyne de bezucheche pa shakdomjiagi and samnodi shukcherli tugore.
This line we have here, think it over. So what this is referring to is to go through this reflection that we've been looking at and come to the point with great certainty, not just that, with great clarity, not just with certainty of the time of death and the uncertainty of that, the certainty with death and the uncertainty of the time of death, but that when our death comes, all that will matter is how we've lived our life. And how we lived our life means what the imprints are that we've added to our mental continuum. This is part of the meaning of think it over. The outcome that we want to come to is the clear determination to spend what remains of this life in the accumulation of virtue and the purification of previously accumulated negativities. What we want to avoid is a fear of death. There's an expression saying, don't fear death, fear rebirth. Don't fear death, fear rebirth. If we've thought about this meditation well, the fear that will arise within us, and we see this in the Lam Rim where they talk about meditating on death and generating fear, what this refers to is generating fear for not using what remains of this life well, fear for wasting a moment more. Because the outcome that we come to in this meditation is not a mind that fears death, but a mind that is committed to restraining our current negative imprints, our current negative ways of thinking, and rather keeping the mind disciplined on virtue. And this is the practice of ethical conduct, a mind of restraint, a mind that keeps the mind always virtuous. And to give the strength of mind so that whatever we are doing, to have the strength of mind so that whatever we are doing we are watching our mind and ensuring that we're not engaging in criticizing others, in complaining, but rather that our mind is on virtue. This strength of mind comes about through effective meditation on death and impermanence repeatedly over a sustained period. And it leads to a commitment to live a life of meaning, to use what remains of this life well. And that means strengthening our virtuous minds and purifying previously accumulated negative karma.
아두스네 다데니기 디소 삼다에 차상 돈다데 가르라네 치와 미타바사 남칭임에 삼다야디 치와 미타바사메다다 아니 녜버 치와 삼다다 남칭임에 삼다야디 가르리고스네 아니 치외제 취마도 판도 마도 팽기 말했으면 삼로디 가르리고스네 지나다가 냠린 마체바체 계조 마두바지 시소하나다 베사사레 에스비 지나기야지 이거래 대수기 되네 숙침부기도 가르팽고를 납나 다 제가 되네 지나려도 개와치말 하다 미고만 토역이 마선데 탑 민우 선배 동예데 대삼로도 숙침불이 두고 그래서 나선래 되네 마사 나선래 계산도 빼사그리 신의 나선래 끼도 그래 빼사그리 선배 신하기여도 다 델레 개와치말 하다 미고만 토 마선데 탑 민우 선배 동예데 숙침부기고 제가 이 동예 숙침부기에게 don달라 치와 미다바 당에 남친임에 삼다야 근데 치위에서 최마도 팽기 말 삼다야 아니 데니게 개조 마두바지 시소는 빼사그래서 집에 오래서 니 삼로 다야디게 찾아 데니게 삼도 땅여도 아니 개와치마 하다 미고 마토기 되냐 dum바디 삼로 숙체리고 그래 디가제 숙체를 아니 하다 미고 마토기 추림다 진바도 세배 냠내지 릉아 있으니 개화사야디 숙체리고 그러다 don달라 나서 좀 미소데 가려면 개화치만 하다 미고 마토기 유디 싸우고 개화 세들라 싸우고 그러다 디사 투고 그래 디사 투야리야 제 돈이기 숙체부 누고 군로 숙체부지까지 숙체에나 유디 싸야리야 배수 숙체지고 배수 숙체는 유디 싸투고 그래 지난 군로 숙체 용고 지난 군로 숙체의 용하라 대시기 아니 교인들께 사상도 쓰는 라트바지 교인들께 사상하고 그래 지난 교인하고도 교인들의 탈두가 삼로도 지내리고 그래 숙체리고 지난 되니기 교인들께 치하고야 don달라 하고야 don달라 치와미다 봐서 남친임에서 신이 나선을 기기해서 되는 시험도 교인들께 봐 라트지 교인들 하고도 델레 탈두가 눈바도 숙체리 델레 탈두가 눈바 숙체리도 라다 미고바토에 되니 숙체리도 대토비에 규디 사야래 배서 라신기 숙체리고 그래 대 규디 사서 란 숙체리면 유사바는 되네 강아요마 고 제부 미야인 바레스 고 규여바절 제부 여여바와 용구와 안디레스 단달라.
To summarize what we've been looking at then this evening, the 3 points of this meditation are to reflect on the certainty of death, followed by that the time of death is completely uncertain. And the 3rd point of the meditation is that at death, the only thing that helps is the Dharma. In other words, the only thing that helps are the virtuous dharmic imprints that we've accumulated on our continuum. So these are the 3 points of the meditation. And the only fear that should come from this meditation is the fear of dying without using this life well. Because if one has used this life well, there will be no fear at the time of death. One would actually welcome death. So here, through engaging in these 3 points of this meditation effectively, repeatedly over a sustained period that brings about a transformation to our way of thinking, the changes we will see in ourselves is a cutting of our attraction towards transient and meaningless activities. All this worldly pleasure and overcoming worldly problems, things that have no lasting value. But rather, we will have now our mind directed towards the Dharma. We will then find the time and the energy we need to study, to attend teachings, reflect on those teachings, meditate on those teachings. And this is the outcome that comes from this reflection on death and impermanence. This meditation on death and impermanence leads to a sense of restlessness or unease, but it also leads to an urgency, sense of purpose. Where we come to in this meditation is a mind that is strong and it's powerful, broad and expansive. We're clear about what we want to achieve, and we have an understanding about how to achieve it. This clarity leads to us overcoming this distraction by mundane affairs. Rather, our mind is focused on achieving a good rebirth so we can continue our spiritual development. And therefore, with this focused, strong mind, we engage in the accumulation of virtue and the purification of non-virtue. And this accumulation of virtue is something we're all doing. We're doing it sitting here, listening to the Dharma and thinking about the teachings. But the strength of virtue that's being accumulated by each person now is dependent on that strength of that virtuous mind. The stronger the mind, the stronger the accumulation of virtue. Likewise, when engaging in purification, the stronger the mind, the stronger the purification. So therefore, to the extent that one has engaged in this meditation effectively, will be the extent that one turns away from mundane affairs and is focused on what is meaningful. To the extent that one has engaged in this meditation, one will be living a life of meaningful, a life of purpose. So therefore I encourage you to use your time to reflect well on this topic, repeatedly over a sustained period, in this way bringing a transformation to your way of thinking, entering through this doorway to the Dharma.
Chutum nyamle da jimba soba zunju samden deso nyamle jinso judi nyamle chedire geshe jubiyade dine enza da jogi samlo delia semjen tamjigi doinda sangi koba toba chiin sembige da jogi shen nye jige shen semjen tamji dunga da soso rana shen dewa deba da dunga me deba jibare jida semjen tamje dewa da demba da dunga da jagudu jisa semjen tamje dewa da demba da dunga da jawa da ngi chi 대장의 상교고바 토고도 선비게 당한적이 당보 되게 자주심 상교고바 토바쇼 선비게 삼로 자주심 주군이라 지상상 당이 상교고바 토와야디 가르시네 현의 펜버주의 체도이 제자 현 펜버주의 도달이 대장의 아랑기 류가 유스미 예제 마던 바 있나 현의 펜버주도 말했어 제자 류가 유스미 예제 마던 바는 나 개와치만 가서게 되는 가서게 개와는 현의 펜버주도 믿었어 되는 소소상기 고방 토야래 잠닝제 삼동유도 베셔라라 소바다 장주심라 파신주기 냠는 제발라 소수기 띠엔류딘 개발전 라다미 띠엔 개발전 고우두스 지난 되는 인자 아니 현리야 펜버드베 현이 동아세 현리야 아니 냠는 제주 현이 동아세야다 현이 디기주에 판도 제발라야 띠엔 개발지면은 나송이 띠엔에 깨려봐 있나 아니 판도지 두미도 투야미도 되는 인자 당아 아랑기 심지한 탐지기도 상계 고방 토베 냠는 제발라야 띠엔 개발전 라다미고와 띠엔 개발시 토구도 현기 동아세 현에 펜바 제발라야 아니 띠엔 개발시 토구도 디인자 니 심지한 탐지 동아세야데 디기주비에 don달라야 띠엔 개발지 마토는 탐면도 디인장이 개와치 망하수도 미개와치 라다미고와 토바 제구도 선비게 어두 삼다제 디토베게 don달라야 니들이 융아 유스미 예제 덤비게 예제 류가 유스미 요건에 샬로니베 자와 싸워긴 지금이야 선배기 당한주 되게 삼로디 게디나 아주 야네야도 나야도 숙체 고미야디레 아니 디엔자 다들 류가 유스미 요건에 류바 지금에 되나 다른 랑기 류가 유스미 로주 강기 토네 샬리아 동아시아다 현이 디기 주비야 개와치마 하다 미고바 토야 탈바다 탐제기베 고마 토베기 돈달라 가세파 땅이나 땅이 선배기 야 동에서 봐서만 자야다 동심 동회 선바의 진배냠내서 동회 선바자야 안디니 랑 semjen 탐지기 돈달링이 상기 토고마 토예기 돈다 현이 동아세 디기 주에 돈달이야 니 강아가 제연에 현이 녀바를 가지 여베네 샬리아 안쇠보금도야다 아니 소수기 지기 현에 펜베주야다 랑기 안최냠네 계주주야야 강아가 제여베네 강아들 쇠도비기 쇠도바 지긴세베 쇠베냠네자다 안 되네기 랑기 안 Gyawachima Lada Miko, Tabata Tamji Miko, Toya, and Shengi Dunga said Digi Jubia Dondala, Gihe Jawala, Bezichera, Bemasa Yapuri, some the Gahomne, the Nidingi, Giti Naji, Sambigi, the Nigi, Semjingi, Duenjada, Tabata Tamji Kimiko, Sanjoko, Toya Dondala, Galeka, Jagina, Jagi, Sambigi, Zundriki at the chair. The Niki and Anzugi, and the Niki Molam Japche, and it Gidine Saran Sarabado, and Lama, Sosoraki, that Lama deta, and Mosu Jeje, Lama Tiu, Sum Mosu, Lama Tizane, Tawachimpi, Che, Yamne, Che Juja, and Yamnachia, Gohabrava Show, said, and the Nigi Suzuki Awasasha Badi, and Shania, Pampagitina, Tuba Shows, and Big, the Molam Jade, Lucine, that he, Zuki, Chimpian, Sudrian, Subian, Zundrian, Diga Molam Jade. And Digala that Kabri things that I want to see near Tubioma, Toyoma dinner, that give you some like Zidu, sometimes Zidu, Neagi, never chat, things in do some tayata, the Nia share up Jebachine, take him. They want to chew and meet up a call a Jebachia, meet up a call a Samta Jebachia, then and then want to be late into a call a Samta Jebachia, and the Maze Dame about Toma you call ya some who do Jebachia, Jebachia, do Chen Jebachia, and do Jebachiki, some do Chen Yamne, the Dagaje, Dene Chawara, Dinenza, and Diring. Shake, Namina, that Jiga Lam Rim Shake, Yamnaki, Chun Kablia, some Chuna, Tumo, Lam Yirimba, Lo Chang said, some Danadi, Dusiane, and the Dadi, Yechimochagority, Danadi did she serva.
Whilst that we've now brought to a conclusion the meditation on death and impermanence, I think it's important to put this into the context that I believe most of you will relate to best. Because all of you who choose to come here, I believe you have an interest in the Mahayana Dharma and an aspiration to enter into or to develop the paths of the Mahayanas, to rise as a bodhisattva yourselves. So then how to approach this meditation as someone who aspires to the Mahayana Dharma? Because we remember that this is a practice that is shared with the being of small capacity or initial capacity, which means that those of supreme capacity, they would also engage in such a practice. So we, as aspirants to the path of the Mahayana Dharma, we engage in the same meditation, but what differentiates it is the motivating mind. So here, one starts the meditation first by turning one's mind to all sentient beings and the situation they find themselves in. All sentient beings, we recognize, are really no different from ourselves in that we all only want to experience happiness. None of us wants to experience even a moment of problems or difficulties. This is our innermost motivation, and it is true of everyone around me. In fact, it's every ordinary being pervading space is desperate to be freed of suffering and only wants to experience happiness. And yet all these beings who want to experience happiness, they don't understand the causes for happiness, and they don't understand the causes for suffering, and therefore they continue under the influence of the afflictions to accumulate the causes for further suffering, despite their desire for happiness. So here we recognize how beings are lost in confusion, desperate for a guide, desperate to be shown how to cultivate the causes for happiness within their own minds and to eliminate the causes for suffering in their own mind. We take this as a basis then to generate bodhicitta through making the commitment to ourselves that I will become that guide for sentient beings. I will develop myself to the point where I am able to lead others skillfully in their cultivation of the minds of virtue and elimination of the minds of suffering. But in order to do that, I need to develop knowledge and develop that knowledge into inner realizations and transformation of my mind, and take that transformation to the degree of perfection where all my qualities are developed to the degree of perfection and all faults are completely eliminated. In other words, arise as a Buddha. Because it's only then that I can be of great benefit to others, be a skilled guide in helping them with their own transformation. But to achieve that, to achieve such an exalted goal, takes great effort over a sustained period. Therefore, I have to ensure that I continue to have good rebirths, so that I can continue primarily to develop myself spiritually, but whilst doing so, to also be of benefit to beings. If I fall into the lower realms, I'll be so overwhelmed by suffering, I will not be able to achieve either of those goals. So therefore, I have to engage in this meditation now on death and impermanence, and ensure that I continue to develop the strength of mind so I can accumulate the causes for good rebirth, and to ensure I don't fall into the lower realms, and thereby can continue life after life to benefit others, and eventually become a Buddha for their sake. So in this way we generate bodhicitta, and now we have the required motivation to engage in this meditation as described earlier, but in accordance with the motivation of a being who wants to become a bodhisattva. And in having engaged in the meditation as presented, then one comes to the outcome, the conclusion that only the Dharma helps. Only the Dharma will help me at the time of death. So that's the third point in the meditation. And then one engages in the meditation which is the cultivation of the causes that will lead to a good rebirth. These causes that we need to have strong and powerful on our continuum at the time of death. We meditate on ethical conduct, developing this mind of ethics, developing a mind that's of restraint, so that we ensure that these non-virtuous habits that we have of thinking about others or things with desire or with anger, or engaging in speech with desire or anger, or activities that bring harm to others, that we turn away from all of this. So this is the practice of ethical conduct, developing this mind of restraint. We then meditate on the practice of generosity, developing this mind that wants to help, this mind that wants to give, this mind that wants to utilize all our resources, whether material or our skills, to bring benefit to others. Developing this ever stronger wish to help ease the burden of others. So these two minds of ethical conduct and generosity are companion minds. The first is committed, the mind of ethics is committed to not harming others. The mind of ethics is the commitment to not harm. The mind of generosity is the commitment to benefit. The third mind we cultivate is that of patience, the mind that stays undisturbed in the face of adversity. So this too comes about in dependence on the successful cultivation of the prior minds, with this commitment not to harm others, not to add to the burden of suffering of others, as well as this commitment to help others, to ease the burden of pain. Patience naturally comes about in dependence on those realizations. We'll easily keep our mind undisturbed in the face of adversity, whether that adversity comes from others or is from our own inner turmoil. Our mind will stay focused on not bringing harm, but bringing benefit. And then fourthly, developing the mind of joyous perseverance, the mind that comes about wanting to only engage in virtue, that has no interest in non-virtue, which has a clear understanding of the results that come from virtue and non-virtue, and thereby wants to engage continuously in the accumulation of virtue, which means whatever one is doing, one's mind stays virtuous. Whatever one is doing, not just formal practice, whatever one's doing, one's mind stays virtuous. So in this way, through meditating on death and impermanence, in the context of the Mahayana, we also engage in the cultivation of these four causes that will lead to good rebirth. And these four causes then, that lead to a strengthening of our virtuous minds and a strengthening of our capacity to further spiritually develop. And we conclude the meditation then with prayer, because there are four causes plus the prayer that lead to good rebirth. And amongst the many prayers to make, emphasize that in life after life we continue to meet a spiritual teacher at a young age, recognize them as such, and to seek our teachings from them, remain with them, being guided by them in the development of their teachings within our own continuum, and using this ever greater expanse of skills to be of ever more benefit to others. And if one has still capacity, then throughout this entire meditation up to here, there are 2 further points that one can include, to mention them briefly. At every point in the meditation, as one feels the stirring of one's mind, feels some realization, before moving on to the next point, rest with that, abide in it, concentrate on it single-pointedly. And this way one develops concentration. And do that on where you can, on each point in the meditation. And the second point to include throughout is the cultivation of wisdom, the wisdom realizing emptiness. And a way to do this is on all these varying points of meditation, reflect on their relationship, or reflect on dependent arising in relation to those various points. And in this way, this truly becomes a practice of the Mahayana, in that one has cultivated bodhicitta at the beginning, and throughout the meditation on death and impermanence, one is accumulating, one is also meditating on wisdom through dependent arising. So I just want to apologize. I've taken quite a lot of your time. We've gone over quite a while, so my apologies for that. Just to repeat what's been said before, if at any point you need to leave because you've got other commitments, it's always fine to do so. But thank you for your time. Our evening together is impermanent. Our time has ended. And next week we'll continue with the text, looking at this point that about Dharma being the only thing that helps us at the time of death. So thank you.